Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about exception handling in the Spring Web MVC. How to handle exceptions, what is class-based exception handling, and what is global exception handling. We discussed in the last session. Today, we are going to talk about embedded containers and embedded databases in the Spring. Okay, so what is embedded container? What is embedded container and what is embedded database? Embedded container and embedded database. Now, if we go to Spring Boot application, when we are running our Spring Boot application, when we create the boot application, we are using Web Starter. Web Starter, we are adding as a dependency in our boot web application. When you add the Web Starter and when you run your application, Spring Boot will understand that this person is developing one web application. For this person, web server is required. This person is developing a web application. For this person, one web server is required. Then that Spring Boot is going to start Tomcat server as a default embedded container. So when you run our Spring Boot application, if you see by default, we are getting Tomcat server with the port number 8080. By default, we are getting Tomcat server with the port number 8080. Now, here in the Spring Boot, what is the embedded container? When we add Web Starter, Spring Boot will provide server to run our application. Okay. When we add Web Starter, Boot will provide server to run our application. That is called as embedded container. So if you want to develop a web application, you no need to download and install the server. You just add the Web Starter. Spring Boot will provide the server for you. Using that server, you can run your application. Using that server, you can run your application. Yes, sir.
Sir, there is a lot of echo in today, like it's like vibrating your mic.
Is it clear now?
Your voice is very low, sir.
Voice is very low, sir.
No,
Voice
what-
is low.
It was vibrating kind of echo we are getting. Can you try more time now?
Is it clear now?
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
clear.
clear? Yes.
Yeah.
So we are talking about what is embedded container. So embedded container basically is server that is required to run our web application. So when we add Web Starter, Boot will provide a server to run our application. That server is called as embedded container. Spring Boot supports 3 embedded containers, guys. Boot supports 3 types of containers. 3 containers. What are those 3 containers supported by Spring Boot? One is called Tomcat, which is default. Second one is Jetty, and the third one is Net. Okay. So these 3 are called as default containers that are provided by Spring Boot. So when we add Web Starter, by default we are getting Tomcat server. The Tomcat server port number is 8080. The Tomcat server port number is 8080. If you don't want to go for Tomcat server, I don't want to go for Tomcat server. I want to change the embedded container. I want to change embedded container. To change the embedded container from Tomcat to Jetty, what is the procedure? How to configure Jetty as embedded container. How to configure Jetty as the embedded container? By default, we are getting Tomcat as a embedded container. How to configure Jetty as a embedded container? For configuring Jetty as a embedded container, we need to perform two steps, guys. One is step one, exclude Tomcat from web starter. Exclude Tomcat from web starter. In the Maven tool, I explained dependency exclusion. What is the dependency exclusion? Do you remember Maven? You attended Maven tool, right? What is Maven? Maven is a build tool. So in the Maven, dependencies we are going to add. When you add one dependency, it will download the child dependencies also. Sensitive dependency management is there in the Maven. So I don't want child dependency. Then we can go for dependency exclusion. Same thing here. How to configure Jetty as an embedded container? To configure Jetty as an embedded container, we need to exclude Tomcat from the web starter. Why? Because when I add a web starter, by default it is providing Tomcat. Now I don't want a Tomcat. I want to go for Jetty. So exclude Tomcat from the web starter. Exclude Tomcat dependency from web starter. Then step 2, configure Jetty start in pom.xml. So from the web starter, you need to remove the Tomcat and you need to configure Jetty starter in the pom.xml. Then Spring Boot will take Jetty as a default embedded container for. Okay. Now let's go to our project. Here, web starter is available. Spring Boot web starter web is available. Now I want to configure Jetty. To configure Jetty, first I need to exclude the Tomcat. So for that we need to write exclusions. Inside the exclusions we need to write exclusion. Inside the exclusion we need to write group ID and we need to write artifact type. Okay. So here org.springframework.boot is available and Spring Boot starter Tomcat we have to exclude. Spring Boot starter Tomcat. Spring Boot starter Tomcat. So this is one change that you need to do, guys. So from the dependency of the web starter, you need to exclude the Tomcat. When you exclude the Tomcat, you need to configure Jetty starter. Okay, configure the dependency Jetty. Spring Boot starter Jetty we will configure as a dependency. Then our boot application will run with the Jetty server. Okay, both are same. There is no difference here. Tomcat will run on the port number 8080. Jetty also will run on the port number 8080. Now, so let me do the Maven update. So whenever you change your dependency, guys, let's perform the force update. Maven force update I am doing. Then clear the console. Okay. Then go to start class and run the application. Run as Java application, which is having a main method. Boot application execution will start from the main method. Now, so if you observe, which server started now? Which server started now? Jetty server is started. Earlier Tomcat is started. Now we are able to start the Jetty server. Now look at this. What is embedded container in Spring Boot? What is Spring Boot embedded container? In the interview, they will ask this question also. What is the embedded container in the Spring Boot? The server which is provided by Spring Boot to run our web application is called as embedded container. So when this embedded container will come, when you add web starter dependency, then only we are going to get the embedded container. So here Spring Boot is supporting for 3 containers, guys. What are those three containers? One is Tomcat container. Second one is Jetty container. Third one is Netty. So by default, we are getting Tomcat container. But I don't want to Tomcat. I want to configure Jetty as a embedded container. I don't want to Tomcat, guys. I want to go for Jetty as a embedded container. So what are the changes we are doing to configure Jetty as an embedded container? What are the steps we need to perform to configure Jetty as an embedded container? Exclude Tomcat dependency. Exclude Tomcat. Exclude starter Tomcat. Starter Tomcat dependency from starter web dependency. Okay. So web dependency available, which is getting Tomcat by default. You exclude the Tomcat starter from the web starter and you configure Jetty starter in the pom.xml. So this is the change I have done in my pom.xml. Okay. This is the change I have done in my pom.xml. Right? From the web starter, we are removing starter Tomcat and we configure Jetty starter. So this is web starter dependency. We excluded a Tomcat here. Then I am configuring starter Jetty. So with this, by default, Jetty will work as a embedded container. Then what about Netty? When the Netty server will come? If you add Webflux starter, reactive programming. So in the microservices, we are going to work with this Netty server. When you want to implement reactive programming, then you need to add Webflux starter. When we add Webflux starter, Netty server will come by default. So I hope you got the clarity. What is embedded container in the Spring? What is embedded container in the Spring Boot? The server that is provided by the Spring Boot is called as embedded container. In the interview, they will ask this question also. How to configure Jetty as the embedded container? How to configure Jetty as the embedded container? They will ask this question also. You need to be ready to answer this kind of question. All right? Perfect. There is no difference, sir. Both are web servers. Both are web servers. Okay. Right. Next one. We are going to understand what is embedded database, guys. What is embedded database in the Spring? Very important concept. Now, so we understood embedded containers. Now we are understanding what is embedded database in the Spring. So here in general, when you want to develop one application to perform CRUD operations. So what we are doing, we are going to download database. Okay, so download database, then install database. Okay, you need to download one database software. Download database server software, install database server. So these are the steps we need to perform CRUD operation. Suppose you are learning one course, you are learning Spring Boot. Part of Spring Boot, you want to develop one project. In that project, you want to perform CRUD operations. Insert the record, update the record, delete the record, retrieve the record. You want to perform some CRUD operations in your application. For your application, database is required. So you need to go to a website like Oracle, MySQL, whatever the database you want. You download the database server software and you install that database server in your system. So that is the regular process we will do in our training. Okay. But tomorrow, when you go for a company will provide you one laptop. Our company will provide you one system. To do the company project work, company will provide one laptop for you. Okay. In that laptop, you cannot install any software directly. Company people will restrict your laptop permissions for you. Okay now, so this is my personal laptop. I can go here. I can download Java. I can download Oracle, MySQL, I can install whatever software I want because this is my personal laptop. But tomorrow, when you go to company laptop will be available. Company laptop will be available. In the company laptop, you will not have administrator permission. You are a normal user for the company laptop. You cannot perform everything in the company laptop. For example, you want to install Java in the company laptop. That is not possible. But you need Java software in the laptop to do the project. You can't go to the Oracle website. You can download the software, but you can't install the software. That permission will not be available in the company provided system. So then, how to install the softwares in the company laptop? So in every company, there will be one IT department, guys. In every company, there will be one IT department. So if you want to install a software in your company laptop, then you need to raise one ticket. You need to raise one ticket to the IT department. That ticket we are going to raise by using a tool called ServiceNow tool. Most of the companies will use ServiceNow as a ticketing tool. So I want to install Java 17 version in my laptop. Then company will use a ticketing tool called ServiceNow. You will have the login account in the ServiceNow company will provide you. You go to the ServiceNow tool and you create a ticket for the IT department with the information which is software you want in your laptop. Then IT department person will call you. IT department person will call you. Where are you? So you are in the same office where the IT department is available, or you are in the different office. If you are in the same office, IT department person will give you a time slot for you. Today afternoon 3 o'clock, come to our office. They will have separate room, IT department. At 3 o'clock, you need to go to IT department. They will take your laptop. They will install the Java software for you. So that is one thing. For example, you are working from home. IT department is in the office. Then IT department person will call you. IT department person will send one meeting link for you, a Zoom link or a Teams link for you. Then you need to give your laptop screen share access to IT department. Then IT department person will connect with your laptop and they will install the software for you. This is the process in every company. This is the process in the every company. You can't install any software directly in the office lab. So if you want Java or if you want Maven, whatever, any software you want, you need to talk to IT department. How to talk to IT department? There will be a tool which is called ServiceNow. ServiceNow tool is called a ticketing tool in the IT industry. You create a ticket for the IT department, they will come to your location or you go to their location or you connect in the online, they will help you to install the software. That is okay. Now, I want to practice database concepts in my lab. I want to develop one POC. POC nothing but proof of concept. So you got a requirement to implement React.js in the project. Spring Boot React.js requirement we got in the company, but in our team, nobody knows React.js implementation. We are new to React. We are working on the Angular. Now we got a requirement to migrate the project from Angular to React.js. Directly, can you go and change from Angular to React? No. First, we need to develop a trial project. We need to develop one simple trial project with the Spring Boot React integration. That a trial project we will develop. That is called POC in the industry. POC nothing but proof of concept. So when you are going to do any experiment in the company, directly we don't do in the project. We will develop a test project or a trial project for our practice purpose. That the trial project is called POC. What is the meaning of POC? Proof of concept. You develop one project by using Spring Boot and React. You give the demo to your team members. First, we want to migrate from Angular to React. We are new to React. From last 1 week, I have taken training on the React. I developed a project by using React.js with Spring Boot and CRUD operations. This is my demo. You show the project to your team. If everybody is okay, Then you start migrating the project from the Angular to React. So in the industry, several times we need to develop such kind of POCs, proof of concepts we have to develop. To develop that POC, we need a database. We need a database. Can you connect with the real project database for the POC? No, we can't connect with the real database for the POC. For the POC, I want a database in my local. For the POC, I want a database in my local. So can I install database in my laptop directly? Company laptop, can I install the database? If you want to install the database, you need to raise a request for the IT department. So IT department sometimes will accept your request, sometimes will not accept your request. They will tell you, what you are asking for database. Database, we can't install in your system. Company, we have some rules. Database will be in the remote location only. You can't install the database in the local. My manager will not allow me to install the database in your system. So to get the permissions to install the database, it may take 1 week of time or it may take 10 days of time also. Whatever the request you are raising to the IT department, to get the request approval, sometimes it will take 1 week, sometimes it will take 2 weeks of time also. Can you wait 2 weeks of time to develop a POC? I will tell you. When I was working in Synchrony company, you know Synchrony? Synchrony Bank. If you go to Rayadurgam, high-tech city, the metro station is Synchrony Rayadurgam. Synchrony is a very big banking company. I was part of that company for 3 years. My ex-company was a Synchrony Bank. I worked in that company for 3.5 years. When I joined in that company, I want the database access. Database I can't install in my system. Company given laptop for me. I can't install database in my system. Database available in the cloud. In the AWS cloud, they have the database. I want access for the database available in the AWS cloud to do the development. So same process. Service now is available. After joining in the project, my manager told me to raise a ticket for the database access in the AWS. I have raised a ticket in the service now for database access. It took 14 days to get the access. 14 days of time they have taken to give the access for me. Because it's a banking company, lot of security will be available. My manager given the approval, his manager has to give the approval. Then it will go to IT department. IT department manager has to give the approval. Cloud team has to give the approval. Then only you will get the access. It has taken 14 days of time to get the database access to connect with the project. That is the scenario in the MNC companies. In some companies, it will take 20 days also. In some companies, it will take only 1 day also. It depends on the process they are following in the company. Getting my point? Now, I want to develop one POC project, proof of concept. For that, I want a database. I can't install the database. I have to raise a ticket to install the database. They may install immediately, or they may take 1 week. They may take 20 days also. Sometimes they may reject my request also. Why you need database in your laptop? We already have a database in the cloud for the project. But my requirement is POC. I cannot connect with the project database. I want one separate database only for my practice. Can I tell to the IT department, I want to practice React.js so that I can switch the job to other company. Give me database access. Can I tell them? So that's where we are not going to install database software in our company laptop. That is not possible. But for our training, for example, I am working in the same company from 3 years. Now I want to change it to other company. To change the other company, I need to do some practice. I need to upgrade my skills. I want to develop some POCs to show in the interview. For POC development, not related to project. That is for my skill set. Can I tell to my manager, I want to change the job. I want to practice, give me database access. Can you ask your manager? No. Then that's where we are going to use embedded database concept, guys. There is a concept called embedded database. Embedded database concept means you no need to download and install the database. You no need to, are we working with the Tomcat installation now? No. How Tomcat is coming? By default, it is coming. You add a dependency, Tomcat is coming. When you start the project, Tomcat will start. When you stop the project, Tomcat will stop. Similarly, I want database also as a embedded database. When I run my application, database should come. When I stop my application, database should be removed. I no need to download, I no need to install, I no need to ask anybody to give the permission to work with the database. So Spring Boot will support for embedded database concept. You add one dependency, then for your project, database will come. You run the project, database will come. You stop the project, database will be embedded databases, also called as in-memory database. In-memory database, when the application is running, database will be available. When the application is stopped, your database will be removed. Such kind of databases are called embedded databases. When we need embedded database, for the real project, can I use embedded database? No. Why? If you stop the project, database will be deleted, you will lose the data. Embedded database nothing but temporary database. For 1 minute or for 5 minutes or for 1 hour, I want data. For that, I don't need to download, no need to install, no need to ask the permission for IT department to install the database. Want one temporary database when I am running my project. When I am running the POC, I want the database. Once my POC completed, I don't need the database. Are you getting my point? Yes. So what is the difference between physical database and the embedded database? Whatever the database you are downloading and installing in your system, that is called physical database. That is a permanent. If you stop your application, if you shut down your laptop, if you shut down your computer also, database will be available. But embedded database not like that. Temporary. So when you run, database will come. When you stop application, database will be deleted. Data is permanent or data is also temporary? Temporary. When the data is temporary, why should we go for embedded database? For POC database. Temporary purpose. Temporary purpose we can go for embedded database. Especially when we are working with the company laptop, then you can't install the database. Then go for embedded database for your learnings. For your POC development, you can use the embedded database. Nobody will use embedded database for real-time project. Why we should not use embedded database for real-time project? If I stop the application, database will be deleted, data will be deleted. Okay? For the real-time project, physical database is required. For POC development, for training, for practice, you can go with the embedded database. Are you clear? Embedded databases are called as in-memory databases. Embedded databases are also called as in-memory databases. In-memory databases. These are embedded databases are temporary databases. Tomorrow, when you go for interview, a simple question: how do you get the database access for your project? If you are from Amirpet, you are gone. Yes or no? That is a real-time question, right? So in the interview, when we take the interview, I will ask a simple question: how you got the database access in your previous project? How you got the database access for your project? What is the answer? For my project, there is a IT department available. I need to raise the service now request to them with my manager approval. Then I will get the database access. It may take 2 to 3 days of time to get the database access. If you say that database I have installed in my system, I have developed the project. Pure Amirpet candidate. So in the Amirpet, in our system only we will develop the project. Database also will be available. Everything is there in the system. But in the industry, concept is different. Database will not be available in your system. Database will be available in the Linux machine. And database will be available in the cloud. So you cannot connect with the database directly. You need a permission. You need access. That access your manager will not give. That access will be given by IT department. To get the request to get the access, you create a ticket in the service now. Your manager should approve. Then they will accept it. Then they will provide the access for it. That is a process. In the MNC company, that is the process. That process may take 3 days, 4 days. I have seen 14 days. Database access I got after 14 days of time, because it is a banking company. Lot of security. When we go to office, mobiles also not allowed. Do you know ODC? What is ODC? Any idea? No. ODC.
Your office project runs.
Offshore data center.
ODC is there, guys. In the industry, especially when we are working with some banking projects, insurance projects, where you will deal with the money. The project will deal with the people's money. So for those projects, ODC will be available. ODC nothing but Occupational Development Center. Occupational Development Center. So my project is having a ODC. ODC means if I want to enter into my project room, then it is very secure. 24/7 CCTV monitoring will be available. Smartphones are not allowed, and ID card swiping is required to open the door. So if you want to go inside, swiping is required. If you want to come out, swiping is required. Personal laptops, electronic devices, smartphones, nothing is allowed. If you want to take a mobile, 1,000 rupees normal phone will be there, right? Without camera, without internet, without WhatsApp, without Facebook, only that Chota mobile is allowed. Smartphones are not allowed into ODC because security will be there. Security will be. So for some projects in the company, especially for the banking projects, ODC will be there. Unfortunately, from last 6 years, I am working for the banking project. So if I go to office, it is a ODC. I can't access my mobile also. And I can't access my laptop also. Everything is very secure. 24/7 security will be there. Security guards will be roaming in the room also. That much tight security will be there in the ODC center. So for all projects, ODC will not be there. Especially for finance domain, banking sector, insurance sector. For those projects, ODC will be there. ODC nothing but Occupational Development Center. In the company, suppose there are 10 floors available for our office. 1 floor they will give for ODC. Means tight security will be available. Electronic devices not allowed. Smartphones are not allowed. And everything is a track. When you are coming in, when you are going out, or you are swiping, everything will be calculated. Okay, good. Now I am not going to office. Now I am working from home. If I go to office, lot of time for journey only, right? 1 hour going, 1 hour coming, time waste. That is secret. I can tell my previous companies, not current company. Previously, I worked for Synchrony, I worked for Deloitte, and I worked for one small company called GVK. You know GVK Mall? The Banjara Hills? GVK Mall is there, right? For them, development company is also there. That was my first company. I worked for GVK. That is my first company. Actually, GVK shopping mall is very small business for them. Their big business is pharma. GVK Bio is available. GVK Pharma industry is available. In that pharma industry, they will do drug research. For our medicine, tablets will be available, right? They have labs to do the research on the drugs. For the drug research, we developed a project. I think my project is available. My first company project was the GVK project. Then I worked on the Deloitte 3.5 years, insurance project. Then I worked on the Synchrony banking project. Currently, I'm working for another company that is also banking company. All right. So we are trying to understand what is embedded database. What is the meaning of embedded database, guys? Embedded databases are also called as in-memory databases. Embedded databases are temporary databases. What is the meaning of temporary databases? When application is running, then database will be available. We can say when application starts, then embedded DB will start. And when application stops, then embedded DB will be stopped. It is not permanent. It is a temporary. If you run the application, database will start. If you stop the application, then database will be delete. So when to use these embedded databases, guys? When to use these embedded databases? Embedded databases, embedded databases are used for POC development. So what is the meaning of a POC here? POC nothing but proof of concept. Proof of concept. Any trial project, small projects that you are developing, or some concept you want to practice, some demo project you want to develop, such kind of projects are called as POCs. So for the POC development, we are going to use embedded database. So once you stop the application, database will be stopped, data will be lost. Data will be lost. It is not permanent. So remember, we should not use embedded DB for real-time projects. Okay, it is only for practice. It is only for POC development. But in the interview, they will ask this question. Can you tell me what is embedded container and what is embedded database in the Spring? So when you add web starter, we are getting Tomcat dependency, that is a embedded container by default. How to change from Tomcat to Jetty? Yes, we know configuration. Pom.xml modification. Exclude Tomcat from the web starter and configure Jetty dependency. Then immediate question they will ask, what is embedded database and when we will use that embedded database in the project? Embedded database nothing but in-memory database. We can also call it as a temporary database. Temporary database. When we want to develop POCs, then we can go with the embedded database. Actually, in the industry, in your system, database software will not be installed. Company will not allow that. So if you want to do some practice, if you want to learn some new technology, you want to perform some CRUD operations for your practice, or if you want to develop POC for your project, then better to go with the embedded database. So how to configure embedded database in our Spring Boot application? How to configure embedded database in the Spring Boot application? Working with the embedded database in the Spring. So here, Spring Boot supports in Spring Boot, we can use H2 embedded DB. H2 DB, we are going to use H2 database. The database name is H2. H2 database is called as embedded database in our Spring. Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, it's all physical database. Once you install, permanent. Data will be available permanent in the Oracle MySQL. But in the H2, temporary. If you run the application, database will come. If you stop the application, database will be deleted. Now, so how to work with embedded database in the Spring? Spring Boot, in the Spring Boot, we can use H2 database as a embedded database. So you need to configure H2 dependency in the pom.xml. What you need to do, guys? H2 dependency, we need to configure in the pom.xml. That's okay. So then develop Spring Boot web application using H2. Spring Boot web application using H2 database. Develop Spring Boot web application by using H2 database. Okay. So first step, create boot application with the below starters. Create boot application with the below starter. First one is starter web, then starter data JPA, then H2. Now I don't need MySQL. I don't want to connect with the MySQL. I want to connect with the H2. Then you can add time leaf for the presentation. You can add. So what is the purpose of web starter? What is the purpose of web starter? It is used to develop a web application. Purpose of JPA starter? To interact with the database. Which database? H2. So configure H2 dependency. H2 is embedded. What's the difference between Oracle and H2? Oracle is a permanent database. H2 is a temporary database. Purpose of Timely to develop our application user interface. Presentation logic, if you want to develop now, then we are going to use Timely for that. Next one, dev tools. What is the purpose of dev tools?
To restart the server.
Whenever there is a code change, then I want to restart my server. For that, we are going to use dev tools dependency. Okay. Then next one, configure data source properties. Driver class, URL, username, password. Configure data source properties in the application.properties file. Then you create entity and repository interface. Create entity class and repository interface. What is the purpose of entity and repository? What is the difference between entity and repository, guys? What is the meaning of entity and repository? Entity is a Java class. Entity is a Java class which is used to represent the table structure. Then what is a repository?
Is an
CRUD
interface.
There is
repository.
an interface.
It is an interface provide the methods to perform the CRUD operations.
Right.
CRUD repository available. JPA
Yeah.
repository is also available. Very good. Then next one, you can create your service class. Create service interface and service EMPL class. Then create controller class with the required method. Okay, then create view pages with the presentation logic. Create view pages with the presentation logic. Create view pages with the presentation logic. Now look at this. What is embedded database? Can you read the points now? What is embedded database? Embedded databases are also called as in-memory databases. They are also called as temporary databases. Okay. So when the database will be available, when application starts, then embedded DB will start. And when application stop, then embedded DB also will be stopped. Embedded databases main purpose, they are used for POC development. What is the meaning of POC, guys? POC nothing but proof of concept. We should not use embedded DB for the real-time process because it is not permanent data. So in the Spring Boot, which one we can use as embedded database? In the Spring Boot, we can use H2 database as embedded database. Okay. So develop Spring Boot web application by using H2. Create a boot application with the starter, web starter, JPA starter, H2, Timeleaf, and dev. So configure data source properties in the properties file. Then entity class and repository interface, service interface and IMPL, controller class with required methods. Create view pages with the presentation logic. Basically, we are developing layered architecture. Layered architecture we are developing. Earlier, we developed student management system. There we used MySQL. Now we are using H. So let me go to start.spring.io to create a website. To create a web application. Start.spring.io website I am using. Okay. Maven is a build tool. Language is Java. Boot version 3.3.3 I am using. And the group ID you can use as in.ashok IT, artifact ID 03, Spring Boot Web, H2 DB application. Okay. Package in.ashok IT I'm using. Right. Packaging type jar, Java 17. For Spring Boot 3, Java 17 is mandate. Dependencies. Select Dev Tools, select Web Starter, select Data JPA, select H2, type H2. Okay. Provides fast in-memory database, guys. Fast in-memory database. Then Dev Tools, already added. Time links. So what are the dependencies? Dev Tools available, Web, Data JPA, H2, time. Anything missing? No. Click on Generate. So with this, our project is downloaded in the form of zip file. Okay. Go here, extract. Extract this project. Now project is available. Import this project into our IDE. How to import a project into IDE, guys? File, import existing Maven project, copy the path. Okay, browse, path is available. Recognize the pom.xml. Click on finish. You can delete.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, if you don't mind, could you start.spring.io, just you created that project, right? Could you show it again, sir? The process just.
Select project as Maven, language as Java, boot version, group ID, artifact ID, package name, packaging type Java, dependencies we added, and click on Generate. The project will be downloaded. This is one approach to create the boot application.
Thank you, sir.
In the Spring Boot, there is no difference. If it is a normal Java application, jar means any project which will run from the main method, you can package as a jar. If your project does not contain a main method, if you want to run in the server, then you will go for the var. Yeah. Sorry. Spring Boot having normal servlets will not have. In the Spring Boot, main method is there. That's why we are using jar for.
Sir, for IntelliJ and Eclipse, both tools, same process we need to follow, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So with this, we are able to create our project, guys. Close other projects now. Only my H2 project is open. Go to pom.xml. Go to pom.xml. Now here, JPA starter is available. Timeleaf starter is available. Web starter is available. Dev tools available. This is the new dependency we add. What is the new dependency we added? We added H2 dependency in our project. Okay. Then test is also available. Test is also available. Now let's go here. Check the application.java. Start class is created. Go to properties file. Data source properties we need to configure. Which data source? H2 data source we need to configure. Now see how to configure them. Spring dot data source. Spring dot data source dot username. Spring dot data source dot password. Spring dot data source dot URL. That's it. Okay. Right. So you can configure properties. Here, username, password, you can give anything. Ashok ID I am giving password abc@1. It is not predefined. Username, password, you can give any value. Whatever you give, in that you can connect with the database. You are JDBC : H2 : mem : your database name. I am giving my database name as testd. Okay, so this is the URL for the H2. Database name you can change. Instead of testdb, I can give DevDB, something like this. But this is predefined. JDBC colon, H2 colon, mem, that is predefined. Okay. Username, password, user defined. You can configure any value. Database name also you can configure anywhere. Right. Now you observe Spring dot data source dot username is equal to Ashok IT. Spring dot data source dot password is equal to abc@123. Data source dot URL is equal to JDBC colon H2 colon mem colon devdb I have given. Is this clear? So URL contains database name, that is user defined. JDBC H2 mem, that is predefined. Username, password, user defined. You can configure anywhere. After configuring this, just let us run the application and see database is working or not. I added form.xml with the H2 dependency. Now, after creating the project, after adding the data source properties, now I'm going to test my application is getting started or not. That means whatever the properties I have configured, data source properties, with these properties, database is working or not. Let us test it. Go to this application, refresh, start class, run it. Database should start now because dependency added. When the application starts, database should start. Repositories are not available. What is the default container we are getting? What is the default container we are getting, guys? Tomcat we are getting as a default container. Okay, can you see this one? Connection pool is started. H2 console available at what the URL pattern? H2/console. H2-console. Now go to browser, localhost colon. What is the port number? 8080. What is the URL? H2-. Oh, I got my database console. So this is in-memory database. We are able to access our database console. So what is our URL? What is the database name I have given? DevDB. You see the property. You see the property. What is the database name I have given? DevDB. Okay. You take this URL. You give the URL here. And what is my user? Ashok. Password abc@123. You take it and you give the password. Test connection. What it is saying? Test successful was you are able to connect with the database. Now, with this, I'm able to connect with my database. So in this database, currently, tables are not available because no entity available, no table is available. If you have the entity, table will be created. You can save the data, update, retrieve, all the CRUD operations you can perform. And this database will be available how much time? Application execution. If I stop my application, database will be deleted. If I stop and start, again new database will be created. So data is not perfect. Data is not perfect. You got my point now. So let me stop the application now. Application is running. Let's stop it. So my application got stopped. If application is stopped, then refresh. Database will not be available. I'm unable to access the database. See, database is not coming. That's why it is called temporary database, or we can call in-memory database. Now, let me create one entity class now. What is entity? The Java class which is mapped with the database table is called as entity class. Let me create one entity, new class, in.ashokit entity. I'm creating a class with the name called user. Right. Let me take some variables, private, integer, user ID, private string, username, private string, password, private string, email, and private long form. That's it. User ID, name, password, email, phone. User ID and full name, password, email, and phone number. How to represent this as the entity now?
@entity.
Entity. Okay. Table, mandatory or optional?
Optional.
Optional. But I want to give a different name. Then you can give @table. Name is equal to user master. So I want to create a table with a name called user master. Okay. And primary key. How to represent a primary key?
@ID.
ID. Do you want to set the ID or you want to generate the ID?
Generate the ID.
Generate the ID. How to generate the ID? By
At the rate
using
generated value.
generated value. What is the strategy? Auto increment.
Identity.
So for MySQL it is identity. Identity. So if you don't know what is the strategy, okay, I want my ID to be alphanumeric value. Then you can go with the UUID. Alphanumeric I want as the ID. UUID you can take. You see, if you purchase any order in the Amazon, your order ID will be available. What is your order ID? A big 10-digit number alphanumeric will be available. Then they will go for the UUID further. Let me show you order ID with the UUID. Change that later. So for now, if you don't know what is the strategy, you can go for the auto. If you don't know the strategy, you go for auto. If you know the strategy, for Oracle, sequence. For MySQL, identity. If you want alphanumeric, UUID is the strategy you can configure. Now, I want created date and updated date also. How to get the created date and updated date? Private, local date, private, local date time. Okay, which is created date. Created date, users will enter, application should generate. How to generate the created date?
At the rate creation timestamp.
At the rate creation timestamp. Similarly, I want updated. Private, updated date, which is local date and time. Local date and time, updated date. So I'm going to use updated times. Update times. All right. Good. Look at this. This is my entity. So I'm using @entity to represent this class as the entity class. I'm using @table to map my class with the table name. If class name and table name are different, @table annotation required. Okay. Then user ID, which is a primary key with the auto generate. Then full name, password, email, phone number. Created date and updated date. Generate the setters and getters. Setters and getters are generated to set the data to get the data. If you use a Lombok, setters, getters, you no need to generate. Lombok will add. How many of you don't know Lombok? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't know what is Lombok? Okay, we will discuss that. Currently, I'm not using the Lombok. Okay, so that's why manually I am writing the setters and getters. Now, let's run the application and see what will happen. Am I writing auto DDL property here? Auto DDL available, not available. For H2 database, auto DDL not required. If you have an entity, it will create the table tag. But if you are going with Oracle MySQL, table will not create automatically. You need to write a DDL auto first. Okay, good. Go to application.java, run as Java application. So my Spring Boot application will start from main method, which will call run method, which will start IOC content. Application started. Okay, connection pool also created. Database console. This is the URL pattern for the database console. Application started with the port number 8080. Okay, good. Now localhost colon 8080/h2-console. Localhost colon 8080/h2-console. Now I'm able to open my database console. So username, password, URL. You copy from this properties file. Whatever you configure, username, password, same thing you need to use. Username, password, URL also, guys. Take our URL, give that URL. Click on connect. And connect with the database. Can you see user master table? User select start from user master, table is created. Record is available or record is not available? Record is not available. Now you can write the form, capture form data, insert the record into table. So if you insert the record and if you stop the application, gone. Data is gone. It is a temporary. So when to use this embedded database now? When to use embedded database now? POC. If you want to do any practice, then only we are going for this embedded database concept. Are you clear? What is embedded container and what is embedded database? Embedded container, nothing but the server that we are getting for our application. Container is nothing but a server that we are getting for our application. How many servers Spring Boot supporting? 3. Tomcat, Jetty, Netty. What is the default? It is Tom. How to change from Tomcat to Jetty? Exclude Tomcat, configure Jetty. How we will get the Netty? WebFlex. If you add a WebFlex starter, then you are going to get the Netty server. What is embedded database? In-memory database is called as embedded database. Which database we are using as embedded database? H2. H2 we are using as embedded database. What is the advantage with the H2? No need to download, no need to install. Ready-made database is available for you. No need to download, no need to install. You just need to add H2 dependency in the form.exe. You need to add H2 dependency in the form.xml. That's it. Data source properties. Username, password, your choice. You can give anything. URL, up to mem, predefined. DevDB, you can give anything. DevDB, TestDB, AppDB, whatever you want, you can give as a database name. When you want to open the database, after running the application, now after adding the properties, after adding the data source, after adding data source properties, run the application and test H2DB working or okay. What is the URL to access? http://localhost: server port, whatever port you want, /h2-. Some people will use 8080, some people will use 909. So when you need to change the port number, when port number change required, when it is required, when to change it. If you by default, what is the port number? 88. If I have Oracle in my system, then I need to change the port number. You know how to change it? Server.port is equal to 909. Is this clear? So after first step, create the boot application with the starter. These dependencies we will with below dependencies. Then immediately configure below data source properties in the application.properties file. You can configure as it is. Okay. Do I need to configure driver or not required? Okay. After adding these properties, run the application and test H2DB working or. Okay, this is the URL to test the H2DB. Create the entity class and repository interface. Create the service interface and IMPL classes. Create the controller with the required methods. Create the view pages with your presentation. Are you clear with my point? Yes. Next one assignment for you. I want you people to implement user login, the user registration by using Spring Boot, Data JPA, and WebMVs. So create one project. Their user should be able to create the account. Name, email ID, password, phone number. Account should be created. So if anybody creating an account with the duplicate email ID, we should not allow. Once the account is created, you should be able to log in with your credentials. If credentials are invalid, display error message. If credentials are valid, allow them to log in, display one dummy dashboard with the logout button. Can you develop that requirement now? Assign. Develop. Today task is this, guys. Develop one mini project using Spring Boot plus data JPA plus web apps. Database your choice. Either you want to go with H2 or MySQL. Web apps with MySQL DB H2. Develop one mini project using Spring Boot plus data JPA plus WebMVC plus MySQL database or H2 database. Application should contain below functionalities. What are the functionalities? User registration. Okay. Duplicate email should not allow. Duplicate email should not accept. Every user should be creating the account with the unique email ID. Duplicate email should not accept. Then user login. Okay. After login is successful, user dashboard. Dashboard is empty. Just display a message. Welcome to our application. Okay. User dashboard. Then click on login. So this is one mini project. Whatever the concepts we have learned, guys, always you need to remember, learning the concept is very easy, but implementing that concept is difficult. So now we learn from almost from 1.5 months, we are learning the concepts. Spring Boot we learned, data JPA we learned, WebMVC we learned. Now by using all those concepts, we need to develop the projects. Projects development, practical learning is always important. Practical learning is always important. So whatever the requirement I have given, it will take 1 hour to 2 hours of time to develop the project. Is there any concept which is not discussed in the class to develop this project? User registration. What is the meaning of user registration? Take the form data, insert in the table. User login. What is the meaning of login? Take the form data, verify record available in the database or not. If available, valid login. Then go to dashboard. If not available, invalid login, display error. It's very simple requirement. So can you do this task today? Time, yes. Logout means you should come to login page. That's time. Develop one mini project using Spring Boot plus data JPA plus WebMVC plus Timely plus DB. Any DB choice. You can go with MySQL or you can go with the H2 also. Application should contain below functionalities. What are the functionalities are required? User registration. Duplicate email should not accept. Then next one, user should be login, validations. User dashboard, logout. So for login and registration pages, we have to implement form validations. That is not discussed in the class. You need to try how to implement a form validation. In the next session, I will explain how to implement form validations also. Are you clear? What is the meaning of form validation? Without entering the data, user should not submit the form. If user submit the form without entering the data, error message should come. This field is mandatory. Okay. So you see validation. In every project, validations are common. Right? Yeah. Login. Go to new account page. Click on register. Without entering the data, if I click register, what is happening? Validations are coming. So like this, we need to implement form validations in our website. Whatever the mini project we are developing, in that mini project, we need to implement the form validation. Are you able to follow this? Is it clear? No, you need to take. Why dispatch servlet will take? Dispatcher servlet will just give your request to the controller. You need to take care of the form validation. You need to write the logic for. You need to do some research. Dispatch servlet will just take your request, give it to controller. Whatever the response controller will give to the problem. It is just a mediator. What? Dispatch servlet work is background. When you click button, the request is going to the dispatcher. It will take the request, give to handler mapper, identify the controller, call the controller method, take the model and view, give to view resolver, get the model, give to view, get the response, send to the client. That will happen in the background. It is a daemon thread. We can't see with our eyes, but work will happen in the background. Are you clear with the mini project requirement? Yes. What we need to develop? Basic user login functionality and registration. After 1.5 months of training, if you are not able to develop that project also, it's waste of 1.5 months. Whatever the 1.5 month time you spent here, it's waste if you are unable to develop that project. Simple user registration page, user login page. That's it. The extra thing is form validation. You can do some research. If you are able to do it, excellent. If not, tomorrow I will explain how to implement form validation. All of you, can you do that now? Yeah, sit in the lab. I'm available here. My gym time changed to morning 5:30. Now 11 o'clock I'm available in the institute only. If you have any doubt, then you can come to me or I will come to the lab. Mentor is also available. You do the practice. Are you asking the questions? Clarifying? Yes, you can utilize that guy. You can utilize that person. Whenever you get some problem, there is a mentor. You talk to that person, take the clarification. If he is unable to solve your problem, then come to me. I will solve your problem. Okay? Good. If I am unable to solve your problem, I will give your fees wapas. What is the use? What is the use to join the course? Right? So any problem you are facing, I will be able to, I can solve that problem. I will solve that problem. Once you talk to the mentor, if you don't get the solution, then come to me. I will be available here till 1 o'clock. Okay? Good. From next week, I want to take the mock interviews for you people. Whatever that you are learned, whatever that you have implemented, I want to take a mock interviews for you. So whatever we learned as of now in the Spring Boot, in the data JPA fully not completed, guys. Did I complete the data JPA topics? No. We are learning parallel. That means WebMVC only JPA. If you learn directly, you can't understand. Now, if you learn WebMVC with the data JPA combination, then you will get the project knowledge. How to develop a project, how to develop UI, how to develop backend, front end, backend, the integration that you are learning parallel. Biggest topic which is pending in the data JPA, association map. How to implement relationships with the database. The topic is not covered yet. That is most important topic. In every project, association mapping will be available. Multiple tables will be available. One table will have a relationship with the another table. Joins will be available. Okay, one-to-many relationship, many-to-one relationship, one-to-one. So those many-to-many relationships will be available. That topic is not covered as of now. Okay, this is one assignment for you. And there is a second assignment also. There is a second assignment also. For the second assignment, I will give some time also for you. You can take 2 to 3 days of time. Develop Spring Boot application. Develop Spring Boot application with below 2 forms. Okay. One is book form. Second one is product form. 2 pages you need to develop. One page is used to save the book data. Another page is used to save the product data. Okay. The twist is book form data should be stored into MySQL DB, and product form data should be stored into H2DB. One application, two databases. Damn sure question in every interview. How to connect with multiple databases by using Spring. So currently we are connecting with only one database. But in the real time, one project can have multiple databases also. One form data I want to store in the MySQL database. Another form data I want to store in the H2 database. It can be H2 or it can be any other. The requirement is develop a Spring Boot application to connect with multiple databases. Okay. Application should contain below two forms. One is book form, another one is product form. Okay. So book form data should be stored into MySQL DB. Product form data should be stored into H2DB. This is damn sure question in the interview. How to connect with two databases by using Spring. If you want to connect with one database, you don't need to do anything. It's very simple. You are going to configure data source properties in the properties file. Then you are creating an entity, you are creating a repository, you are performing operation. But if you want to connect with two databases in a single application, configuration will change. For this, I have given one video also in the YouTube. That is also available. Multiple databases connection by using Spring. Go to Ashok IT, popular videos. Where is that? What is this one? How to configure multiple databases in the Spring Boot. Within 13 minutes, I have explained that concept. But for you, it will take 1 hour or 2 hours of time to understand and to develop that project. Okay, I am giving 2 assignments now. What are the 2 assignments? One is registration page development, login page development. Second one is how to connect with multiple databases by using Spring Boot. 2 forms you need to develop: book form, product form. Book form data should be stored into MySQL database. Product form data you need to store into H2 database. Is this clear? So first you work on registration login. You complete it, then you start the second assignment. Okay. Any questions, anybody? So now you have to start your practice. Sit in the lab and do the practice. Any question, you come and ask. Okay. Thank you guys. We'll continue tomorrow.
Sir?
Yeah. Online students, any questions, anyone?
I need help from you. So
Yes.
from the initial days also, I asked like from Spring Boot, how can we integrate SOAP?
SOAP web service integration. Sir, I
Yeah,
okay, I remember.
I have a requirement at my office. So I have gone through few examples, but it's not working at all. So can you please help me for that?
Sure, sir. Tomorrow we can connect on the weekends. Tomorrow we'll work on.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Any examples? Can you please share?
Sure, sir. I will check some links and I will share in the group. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Is there any class tomorrow?
Yes, sir. We have the class.
Sir, without exclusion of Tomcat, we can't
No, sir.
add Jetty.
No. You have to exclude the Tomcat.
Okay. And one more, without adding Tomcat, there's an inbuilt server. So embedded server as a Tomcat, but without adding database as a embedded database, we should add the embedded database.
No. Your question is not clear for me. Can you please repeat your question again?
Yeah, actually, without adding any configuration in the Pomlet XML, the Tomcat is an embedded server.
Embedded database will not come like that. You need to add it.
Okay.
Without adding directly, it will not come.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, packaging as a jar we will select when we want to run the application with the embedded Tomcat server.
Right. If you want to run in the separate Tomcat, you can go with the WAR files.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, hi, sir. Tell me.
Regarding NETI, we will use whenever we are using for asynchronous programming.
Asynchronous programming, sir. Reactive programming when you want, then you can go for the WebFlux starter that we will cover in the upcoming classes.
What about NETI is Jetty, sir? When we will use it?
Sir, Jetty, Tomcat, both are same, sir. There is no difference. Both two different web servers available.
So there is no difference.
Sir, after adding H2 database also, it is showing under that console Tomcat server also, no, sir?
No, madam. Only Jetty it will show. Tomcat it will not show.
Okay.
If you create var file, we need to exclude like a Tomcat dependency or not needed, sir?
Not needed, sir.
Sir, I have added my query in the chat. Please check.
Sure, Prathamesh. We will connect separately.
Yes, please. How can I?
We will message.
Yes, please.
Okay, good guys. Thank you. So with this, I'm stopping now. We'll meet again tomorrow.